As you just heard from Dee Ziegert, violent crimes devastate families, and they can spend years seeking justice. Victims' advocates are among those closely watching two proposed state laws that would allow people convicted of first-degree murder a parole hearing after 25 years. Currently, state law mandates life in prison without the possibility of parole for that offense. Carolle McGrath spoke with Hampden County District Attorney Anthony Gulluni and Jane Chevalier, the director of the Victim Witness Unit in the DA's office, for their perspective.
It's not fair to families who go through so much right from the moment they're notified of the death and through waiting for a trial, and then even post-conviction they know that things can come up, and it's not fair. They have to keep reliving it. Every time you talk to them, they're reliving that moment, sometimes the known and the unknown of what happened with their loved one's case. It's not fair.
But after 25 years, can't somebody have a change of heart and change their life? Why shouldn't they be given a chance?
Well, in these cases, they've killed someone. So the loved one is not coming back to his or her family. They're not going to come back for birthdays or for retirement parties. They're not getting a chance at 25 years to come back to their families and come back to their lives. You can single out cases, but every murder is tragic and rips away a loved one from a family member and from a friend group, from children, from brothers, from sisters, etc. So in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, our harshest punishment is reserved for those very few cases that are adjudicated to first-degree murder, and that is a life sentence without parole.
What would happen in the case of Gary Shara?
With one of the two bills proposed, which would enact a retroactive parole eligibility for first-degree murder convictions, he would be eligible for parole. I believe with that bill it would be after 25 years. So the conversations that we've had with the Ziegert family, the conversations that I've had with now numerous families in my 5 years as DA after first-degree murder convictions, that this is more or less definite. This person will serve life without the possibility of parole. We'll have to go back to those families and explain to them that because of this legislation, because of your elected officials, senators and representatives, should this pass, that now this person, despite what you've been told, can get out, and Lisa and other loved ones will never come back.
And for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Gary Shara, who was involved in the Lisa Ziegert murder back in the early 1990s and just pled guilty to first-degree murder. So he admitted that in court, and that would be another thing that the family would have to go through, as you had just mentioned. The thought of going through another, sort of, not trial, but parole board hearing for families has to be just completely overwhelming, I would say.
It is, and it's very hard because they relive it. And not that the loss ever goes away, that they never stop thinking about their loved one, but it's the facts, which, as the DA said, in these cases are so horrendous that they have to relive them or talk about them or hear the facts discussed, and they have to relive it, and they have to hear, oh, well, this defendant's doing a really good job, this parolee really, they've got their life in order. And the victims' families are just saying, but what about my loved one? What about what they did to my loved one?
Advocates of the bill say, look, if you go before the parole board, it doesn't mean that they're going to get out. It's just that they have a chance to be heard. What's wrong with that?
Well, again, you have to factor in the seriousness of the crime, and no one can predict in 25 years who will be on that parole board and what could happen. We want defendants to have rights. We respect the system of criminal justice, but when you talk about first-degree murderers who in the most heinous ways imaginable have taken away innocent people, victims, this is essentially criminal justice reform run amok. This is irresponsible. This is not contemplative of the overall scope of the criminal justice system and what our responsibilities are to public safety, to families, and to victims.